Let me paint you a picture, and I want you to tell me if it feels familiar. It's a normal Tuesday, you're half paying attention, scrolling through your inbox between meetings, and there it is, an email from your student loan servicer. Your stomach does that little drop before you even open it, because somewhere deep down you already know. For months, maybe years, your payment has been sitting at zero, or close to it. You'd almost let yourself forget about it. And now the message is telling you that's over. The plan you were on is gone, the pause is ending, and there's a new number coming, a real number, $200, $400, maybe more. And in that moment, your whole budget, the fragile little balance you finally got working, feels like it just cracked down the middle. And maybe the worst part is the quiet loneliness of it. That creeping sense that everyone else somehow has this figured out, and you're the only one sitting there staring at a number you have no idea how you're supposed to pay. If that's you right now, if you got that notice this month and you've been quietly panicking about it ever since, I need you to stay with me. Because here's the truth, almost nobody is telling you, the higher payment is not the thing that's going to hurt you. The thing that's going to hurt you is the decision you make in the next 90 days out of fear. And there's one specific move that protects both your loan and your future at the same time. Most people won't make it. I want you to be one of the ones who does. Welcome back to Affluence Theory, where we break down the real psychology and the simple math behind building wealth on a completely normal income. I spend way too much time thinking about money and about why the same financial event can quietly wreck one person and barely scratch another. If that's the kind of thing that helps you sleep a little better at night, do me a favor and hit subscribe, and give this video a thumbs up, because it genuinely helps this reach someone who's staring at that email right now feeling alone. Okay? Let's talk about what actually happened, because you can't make a calm decision about something you don't understand. On July 1st, the repayment world for federal student loans changed. The plan, a huge number of people were parked on, the one that made those payments so low, was struck down by the courts and officially ended. And for a lot of borrowers, that plan came bundled with a pause, a forbearance, where the payment was zero. Here's the part that stings, and I want to be straight with you about it. That pause stopped being interest-free back in the middle of last year. So for a lot of people, the balance has quietly been growing this whole time, even while it looked like nothing was happening. The typical person caught in this had somewhere around $57,000 in loans, and that balance has crept up by a couple $1,000s just sitting there. That's the boulder we talk about on this channel, except this time it's been rolling backward while you weren't looking. Now the notices are going out. They're coming in waves, stretched all the way into next year, and when yours arrives, it starts a clock. You get 90 days to choose a new repayment plan, and this is the first place people get hurt, so listen closely. If you do nothing, if you freeze, if you let that email sit in your inbox because opening it makes you anxious, you don't get to stay at zero, you get automatically dropped into a standard plan. And a standard 10-year plan on a $57,000 balance can run you well over $600 a month. That's the shock. Not because anyone's trying to be cruel, but because doing nothing hands the decision to a formula that doesn't know or care what your budget looks like. So let's talk about the 3 ways people react to this shock, because 2 of them will quietly cost you years of progress, and only one of them keeps your wealth machine running. The first reaction is the freeze. This is the most common one, and it's the most dangerous. The payment feels impossible, the email feels overwhelming, so the brain does what brains do with overwhelming things. It looks away, the email gets buried, the deadline passes. And here's where it goes from bad to genuinely destructive, because ignoring a federal student loan doesn't just ding your credit. Left long enough, it can lead to default, and default is the real wealth killer in this whole story. We're talking wages garnished straight out of your paycheck before you ever see them, tax refunds seized, your credit score falling off a cliff, which quietly raises the price of every other thing you'll ever borrow, from a car to a house. Default doesn't slow the boulder down. It chains it to your ankle and shoves you both downhill. And the cruelest part is how avoidable it was. The person who defaults almost never chooses to. They just never opened the email, never picked up the phone, never made one small decision, and the system made the worst possible decision for them. So whatever you do, the freeze is the one option we're taking off the table completely. Not paying is never cheaper than paying. It only feels that way for a little while. The second reaction is the overcorrection, and this one's sneaky because it looks responsible. This is the person who panics in the other direction. They see the loan as an emergency, an enemy, a fire to put out right now, so they empty their savings and throw every dollar they have at it. They drain the emergency fund, they stop investing entirely, they put life on hold and pour everything into killing the balance as fast as humanly possible. And I understand the emotion. Debt feels heavy, and getting rid of it feels like freedom. But think about what actually just happened. They took the foundation they spent years building, the cushion that stops a flat tire from becoming a catastrophe, and they set it on fire to move a little faster on a loan charging them under 7%. Now the very next time life throws a curveball, and it will, they've got nothing. So what do? They reach for a credit card charging 22%, or a buy now pay later plan, and they trade a low interest problem for a high interest one. That's not progress, that's just rearranging the boulder. Which brings us to the third reaction, the one almost nobody talks about, and the one I want you to actually make. And to explain why it works, I have to show you something about the new plan that changes the entire calculation. There's a new repayment option now, and buried inside it is a feature that, honestly, most people are going to completely miss. Here's how it works. Your payment is tied to your income, and it scales gently, roughly 1 to 10% of what you earn depending on your income level. If you make around $50,000 a year, we're talking somewhere in the neighborhood of a couple $100s a month, not the $600 a standard plan would demand. There's a floor, so nobody pays zero anymore, but that floor is small, as little as $10 a month for the lowest incomes. You get reductions for every dependent you're supporting, but here's the feature that actually matters, the one that changes everything. As long as you make your payment on time, any interest your payment doesn't cover gets waived. Wiped out, gone. Do you understand what that means? It means the number one thing that makes student loans feel hopeless. The way your balance grows even as you pay, the way you send money every month and watch the total go up anyway, that just stops. For the first time, the boulder stops growing while you climb. On top of that, if your payment isn't chipping away at least $50 of the actual balance, there's help to make sure your principal drops by at least that much anyway. So every single month, guaranteed, the number gets smaller, not bigger, smaller. Sit with how different that is from what you've been living with. For years, the math felt rigged against you, like you were bailing water out of a boat that kept filling right back up. Now the leak is sealed. Every dollar you send actually counts, and the balance can only move in one direction. Now let me connect this to the psychology, because this is where it all comes together. The whole reason people panic and overcorrect and burn down their savings is the terrifying feeling that the debt is a monster that grows no matter what they do. That the only way to beat it is a violent all-out sprint. But when the interest stops piling on, the entire nature of the fight changes. You no longer have to win in a year, you just have to stay in the game. And staying in the game while keeping your foundation intact beats a heroic sprint that leaves you exposed. Every single time. So here's the move, the one most people won't make. You pick the income-based payment you can actually sustain, the one that fits inside your real budget without setting your emergency fund on fire. You make it on time, every time, so that interest waiver keeps working for you. And then, this is the crucial part, with the breathing room that lower payment gives you, you keep investing. Even a little, even $100 a month into a retirement account or an index fund. Because remember what we know about compounding on this channel. The dollars you invest in your 20s and 30s are the most powerful dollars you will ever put to work. They have the most time to grow, and if you stop investing for 5 or 10 years to sprint at a low interest loan, you don't just lose the money you would have contributed, you lose all the growth those dollars would have earned for the rest of your life. That's the trap hiding inside the responsible sounding advice to throw everything at your debt. It quietly steals your best compounding years and hands them to a loan that was barely charging you anything. Let me make this concrete, because I know the math matters to you. Picture two people with the exact same loan and the exact same income. Both got the scary email. The first one panics. They stop investing completely, drain their savings, and spend the next 7 years in an all-out war on the balance. They win the war, the loan's gone. But they've got no emergency fund. They've had 3 near misses that went on credit cards, and their retirement account has been frozen at the same number for 7 years during the most valuable compounding window of their life. The second person picks the sustainable payment, lets the interest waiver do its quiet work, keeps a fully stocked emergency fund, and quietly invests a couple hundred a month the entire time. Their loan takes longer to disappear, sure, but when it does, they've got a cushion that never cracked, zero high interest credit card wreckage, and an investment balance that's been growing and compounding for 7 straight years. Same salary, same starting debt, completely different net worth. And the only difference was which reaction they chose in the 90 days after the email landed. That is the whole game. Now, before you go, I have to warn you about the 2 mistakes that are going to catch most people, because knowing about the good plan isn't enough if you sabotage yourself getting there. The first mistake is treating that 90-day window like it's optional. It is not. When your notice arrives, that clock is real, and letting it run out doesn't keep you comfortable, it drops you into the highest payment on the menu. So the moment you get that email, you open it, you don't bury it. You log in, you look at your options, and you deliberately choose the plan that fits your life, instead of letting a default choice get made for you. Reading the scary email is the single most protective financial move you can make this month. The second mistake is the quiet one, and it's lifestyle creep wearing a disguise. When you land on a lower, sustainable payment, there's going to be this little voice that says, "Great, that freed up some money, I've earned a little something." And before you know it, the breathing room that was supposed to protect your future gets absorbed into a nicer car payment or a bigger subscription pile, and you're right back to living on the edge, one bad month from the very panic you just escaped. The breathing room is not a bonus, it's the whole point. That gap between what you could pay and what you have to pay is exactly where your emergency fund gets rebuilt and your investing habit gets protected. Guard it. So let me bring this all the way home, because I think what looks like the worst financial news of your year might actually be a strange kind of gift if you handle it right. The email that made your stomach drop is not a verdict, it's a fork in the road. Down one path is the freeze, the avoidance, the slow slide toward default that chains the boulder to your leg. Down another is the panic sprint that burns your foundation to move a little faster on a loan that was barely charging you interest. And down the third is the quiet, unglamorous, almost boring path where you pick a payment you can actually live with. Make it on time so the interest stops growing, protect your cushion, and keep feeding the compounding machine that's going to carry you decades from now. That third path doesn't feel heroic. Nobody's going to congratulate you for it. But it's the one that has you debt-free and still building wealth on the other side, instead of debt-free and starting your entire financial life over from zero at 40. You are not behind. You did not fail because a rule changed in Washington and your payment went up. This is just the next hill, and now you know exactly how to climb it without letting go of everything you've already built. A rule changing doesn't erase a single dollar of the discipline you've already shown, or a single day of the habits you've already built. Those are still yours. They're still working for you. All that changed is the shape of the climb. So when that email lands, take a breath, open it, choose on purpose, and keep that money machine running. The higher payment was never the real threat, the panic was. And you're not going to panic, because now you understand the whole game. Keep pushing. You're closer to steady than you think.